This is our lesson on completing the square. Completing the square, just like quadratic formula and factoring, are ways to determine the answers to a quadratic equation, or the x-intercepts to a parabola. So we have x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals 0. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw a square. And in that square, just like when we factored, we're going to put the x squared bottom left. But that's the only similarities to factoring. Now what we're going to do, since we want this to be a square, we have x squared in the bottom left. We're going to take these negative 4x here, we're going to split them in half. So we're going to put negative 2x here in the top left and negative 2x here in the bottom right. That way we have a square. Each side is x minus 2. Okay? So we fill in the outside. Negative 2x and x squared both have an x in common. X times x would give us x squared. X times negative 2 would give us negative 2x. And x times negative 2 would give us negative 2x. So a square, again, all sides are equal. We've got our sides equal. What we want to do then is we want to take this negative 12, because we're not going to use that to complete our square, and we're going to move that to the other side. So we're going to add the 12 over to the other side. But we do need to complete the square. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Okay. But notice there was no plus 4 up here in this equation. So we've just added 4 to the left side of our equation. We have x squared, we have negative 4x, and now we just added 4 to the left side. Think about a scale. To keep things balanced, if you add something to one side of the scale, you can add it to the other side to keep it balanced. So we add 4 to the other side of the equation. Now on the outside of the square we have x minus 2 squared, or x minus 2 times x minus 2. It equals 16. 12 plus 4 is 16. Now to solve for x, we need to get rid of that square, so we take the square root of both sides. Square root cancels out the square and we're left with x minus 2. Square root of 16, we end up with two answers here, positive 4 and negative 4. Reason being, when we look at this step here and we were asking what number squared equals 16, that could be a positive 4 or a negative 4. So we have x minus 2 equals positive and negative 4. To get x by itself, then we have to add 2 to both sides. Positive 4 plus 2 is 6. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. So our answers are 6 and negative 2. This one's a little bit more difficult. Again, we've got x squared minus 5x minus 5 equals 3. And again, the first thing we want to do is draw our square. And put our x squared in the bottom left and split our x's in half. Half of negative 5x is negative 2.5x. It's okay that that's a decimal. So on the outside of our square then, we would need x minus 2.5. We need to get rid of this negative 5 that's still on that side of the equation, so we add 5 to both sides. And then we need to complete the square. Negative 2.5 times negative 2.5 is positive 6.25. That 6.25 wasn't anywhere in our equation, so we've added that to the left side. To keep things balanced, we need to add it to the right side. So now we have on the outside of our square x minus 2.5 squared. That equals the right side. 3 plus 5 is 8, plus 6.25 is 14.25. Take the square root of both sides and we have x minus 2.5 equals the positive and negative square root of 14.25. sometimes we can just leave our answer like that. So we just need to add the 2.5 over to the other side, and we get x equals 2.5 plus or minus 14.25. Okay, and for our purposes, we would consider this exact value. As you get higher up, you would want to simplify 14.25, change it into a fraction, and simplify the radical, the square root. Or we can put it in exact form, or approximate form, which would be decimal values. So the square root of 14.25 is approximately 3.77. So we have x equals 2.5 plus or minus 3.77. 2.5 plus 3.77 is 6.27, and 2.5 minus 3.77 is negative 1.27. So if it's not stated which type of answer you should put down, you can put either one down, but again, exact value leaves the square root in it. Approximate value puts it in decimal form.